In the previous video, we spoke about the difference between element versus class selectors. In this video, we'll be speaking about the difference between another type of selector called the ID selector. So the ID selector is mostly used if you want to uniquely identify an element on the page. Let's say I would like to uniquely identify this paragraph on my HTML page, and then only want only that element to have that particular style. So to declare or to create your ID, start off with a hash and then give the name of the ID. I'm just going to say unique green. Let's just say I'm giving it some sort of a unique green color. And then what I'm going to do is I only want to change the color of the font. So just color. And then let's go to our HTML colorcodes.com page, and I'm just going to copy that color and I'll put in the value like this, and I'll say save. If I refresh, nothing happens because we haven't really applied that ID. So to apply the ID, we can use the ID attribute, and then we can give the name of our ID by giving the exact name now, and then just close the quotes and then save. So we can see that our third paragraph has got that unique green color, which doesn't really look good. But anyway, I hope you get the point. One other difference between using the ID versus the class is the first major difference is that your same HTML element can have multiple classes, whereas you can only have one ID. Let's show that in action. So initially we have a class called highlight color. Let's create another class, and we'll call this other class, I don't know, maybe larger font. And let's close it. And for our larger font, let's just say that I want my font to be sort of double in size, so maybe 200%. Sorry, I used the wrong character, or yeah, so 100%. And now to specify my class, I'm just going to copy that one. Initially we are using the highlight color, that color we've applied previously. So that's our first class. Now I can indicate another class by just putting a space and then pasting in that class. So maybe I could just kind of maximize this a little bit so you can see a bit more. Okay, so now when we refresh, we get both classes applied. The first one is that color, that highlight color that we've applied. And the second one is that larger font. So 200% enlargement in font. And then we've also got that green color coming in from the ID. So that's one of the major differences between the ID and the class, is that you can actually have multiple classes for that same HTML element, but you can only have one ID. So if I create another ID, let's call this unique orange, and let's say that I would like a background, sorry, let me just learn how to spell that, background color to have some sort of an orange. I'm just going to type in orange, it's not very unique. But then if I actually put in two IDs, you can actually see that we've lost anything going on there. So we haven't got any unique green, any unique orange. So that's one major difference. You cannot have two IDs, but that same HTML element can actually have multiple classes. Now the other thing that you might have noticed on the page is that same class, highlight color, is being used in multiple places in the HTML document, whereas the ID can only be used once. So that's another thing. If another ID, in other words, once an ID is being used by one HTML element, then you shouldn't use that same ID for other elements on the page. But if we try it, it actually might work. Now we notice that when we put in two IDs, it didn't work. So we've actually lost all the features going on there. But if I try to put an ID is equal to unique green, and so now we're breaking the second rule. that same ID, once we used it once, you cannot use it multiple places. We are breaking that rule to test what the browser does. So you can actually see that the color's been applied. So in this particular instance, for that particular rule, when we said that the ID cannot be, we can't have more than one ID for that same, for the same elements, we can actually see that the browser wasn't happy with that and it wasn't sure what to do. So we didn't apply anything to it other than the two classes. So this has no effect. If I take it out and refresh, we can see that nothing changes. But I'm going to undo, and I'm going to show you that although this ID has been applied here, that doesn't mean it's right. I'm going to copy all of this code, and let's go and validate our work on the w3c w3.org, and I'm going to click on validate by direct input, and I'm going to paste in my code, and I'm going to say check. And let's look at the results. So the first problem we get is that there's a bad value going on there. So an ID must not contain spaces. It doesn't identify the name as two IDs. It's confused with that one. So to fix it, we'll only put in one ID. Let's look at this second error. So it was only happy with that. It didn't really complain. Okay, so it didn't really complain about this one because it couldn't identify that as being a duplicate ID. If you know what I mean. Initially, when we had this way, it was trying to read this as one ID, so it didn't really figure out that this is a duplicate going on there. But now if I remove it, and I'll copy the code again, and I'll paste and check. Now we've got a problem here. It's saying a duplicate ID, and it's saying that the first occurrence of ID has happened for that span element, and here it's been duplicated. So the first time it's putting this as a warning that this is the first occurrence, but know that this is an error because it's been used again. So I'm going to take out that ID from here, and let's say that I've only wanted this element to be uniquely green, and I'll copy and let's paste it in here, and let's check. And now everything is looking good. So even if the browser is happy with showing you two IDs with different colors, with the same ID being used twice, applying the colors, that is not correct. Always check to validate your HTML code on w3.org and make sure that everything is looking good. So even if the browser is happy with it, it doesn't mean that you are following the conventions of proper HTML5 code. All right, so I hope this was helpful, and I'll see you in future ones.